Hi Marketing Technology students. Today we're going to be working with our selection tools in Photoshop. If you have not already done so, please open a Photoshop file, a new file, going under File and New. The size that I have for this is a 7 by 5 and it is in inches, so make sure you select that it's in the inches. And when you get into this piece, you're going to go ahead and unlock the background. For today, we're going to learn how to use our selection tools on the side, and specifically we're going to be working with our rectangle, elliptical, and marquee selection tool. We're also going to be working with our lasso tool, our polyogon lasso tool. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the selection tools. In Photoshop, the selection tools are set so you can select different items or pieces of a photograph or picture. For our purposes, we're just going to learn how that we can utilize these selection tools. So the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make a square using my selection tool. Now here's a square, and notice that when I start to create the square that it gives me the width and height of that square. If I wanted it to be perfectly square, you notice this is how I drew it. I'm just clicking on my Shift key. For those of you that are Mac users, it's going to be a different key. Please look at your quick select keys on the document that's in there. I'm going to then release from my mouse or pen, and I'm going to then have the selection piece here. What this means is that this particular piece is selected. Everything on the inside of what I call the marquee, marching ants is another thing that people call it, is selected inside. When I come down to my color tools, and I'm just going to change the colors in here, and I did that by coming down to my two color swatches and double clicking on the black. I'm going to go ahead and change the color to blue. And when I change color here, because it's in an RGB, it automatically will say, hey, Kathy, this color, printers can't really use it in the RGB format. If I just click on that box, it'll go to another blue that would work perfectly for printing. We'll talk color later and the importance of color. For now, just pick any color that you want and click OK. I'm also going to do the same with the white box that you see. Your front box is a front fill. The back box behind it is your back fill. So I'm going to use another color, not so close to the blue. I'm going to go opposite and do red with that. Now, the practice that I want you to practice is with your quick keys. If I click on Control Backspace, it's going to then take the piece that I selected and give me my back color. If I click on Alt Backspace, it will give me the color of my front color. So this is saying that this is the piece that I've selected and I want the front and back to be the same. To deselect this piece, I use a quick key of Control D. Control D will always deselect things that you have selected. In the same note, I'm going to go ahead and try the elliptical tool. Notice there's two ways that I can do a perfect circle. One is I can hold down my Shift key, click and drag to get a perfect circle. But if there's a certain spot that I would like, and I Control D to get rid of that selection, to get it to start right here, if this would be the center, if I hold down my Shift Alt key at the same time and drag, it would drag directly from the center of that piece. If I wanted to move this and say this isn't really what I wanted selected, I can move it from this point. I would not go back up to my move key to move it. If I did that, and I'll just show it to you, if I went to my move key, it would actually move the piece, and you can see that there's a transparent background in its place. Quick key, Control Z, is my undo key. Love that key. You're going to love it too. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and say this color that's selected, I would like to use the back color. So I do Control Backspace to do the quick select on that back color. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of the circle. And to make a copy of the circle, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make sure that my move key is selected. And to make a clone of this, I need to make sure that my move key is in with the selected circle. I'm going to click on the Alt key, and the Alt key is going to give me this cloning arrow. And if I just pull back, you can see that now I can create the same circle multiple times. If you haven't done so as of yet, you will notice that you've got some tools over here. My history tool is not there, so I'm going under Window and I'm going to History. History tool is a great tool to see what have I accomplished so far. And so I made all these duplicates. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to go back to my Fill key, and I'm just going to make that one duplicate. This is the time where I would say pause the video and start trying these two pieces. Making shapes, giving a front fill and a back fill, and making your clones. I could even make this clone and change it to the front fill color, or change it to another color completely by clicking down on the color piece and then doing that front color, that front color again. It's going to take some practice in doing this. If I wanted to go back and make a duplicate of my square, I would have to then select the square. And the quickest way to do that is to use this quick select tool in order to select the square. Then I can go back to my move tool, hold down my Alt key to make a duplicate. What happened here? Well, you noticed because I selected and I had another piece selected already, it added to it. That's not exactly what I wanted to do, so I'll go back to my history where I was happy and I'm going to do that step again. And now I can go to my move tool and click on Alt to drag, and of course change the color. So go ahead and try those two steps right now and pause the video. Now that you're back, we're going to use a few other selection tools that we're going to learn. I'm going to go ahead and deselect, and I'm going to come down and I'm going to be using my lasso selection tool. The lasso selection tool means that I can pretty much draw around whatever I need to draw to select that piece. I do the same with my colors. If I wanted to change my color, I click on the color and change it. Oops, color didn't change, not sure why. I use my Alt backspace key to go ahead and use that color that I have there. And again, I can treat this just like I treated the other shapes by making a clone of it. And of course, I can change that color as well. Control D to deselect. Those are so far the three selection tools. The next tool that I'd like to show you is the polyogon lasso tool. And this tool is used if you're going to be making kind of some straight or rigid selections. I always want to end where I started, and I'll show that to you again with my polyogon tool. I come here, I click, I click, I click, I click, I click, I click, and if I don't quite get there and I double click, it'll automatically take the fastest route to get back to whatever I was creating in that selection. Again, I can do my Alt backspace to get my color, and I can also clone this one as well. For space purposes, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to deselect this and come back. What if I wanted to add it to a piece that I had? So in this particular one, I'm going to create a circle, a selection circle, and I want to add to my selection circle. I want it to come out a little bit more. There's some things that I want to add within this selection. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my lasso tool. And this is when we can add or take away. My plus key, when I hold my shift key down and I'm inside this particular piece, if I click and drag and come outside, make like a little ear, and then let go, you can see that it adds into my piece, into the document here. So again, shift and then come in, adds, shift and come in, adds, shift, come in, adds. If I wanted to take pieces away within this document, I can hold my Alt key, and you'll notice my lasso tool now turns to a minus. I'm going to go ahead and make these little circles. And again, I'm holding down my Alt key, and I'm inside that document to hold down the Alt key. And now that I have this cute little face selected, again, I can go Control Backspace to give me the red. Ooh, he looks angry. I can make the red face. If I wanted to change that color, I could change that color, maybe a little bit more happy of a blue. And now I can add and subtract pieces to things that I've created with my selection tools. Another way that I could use this, and I'm going to deselect, is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my rectangular tool to make a rectangle. I'm going to give it some color. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my selection minus key to take a piece right here of this selected piece, and I'm going to move it. Oops. Ooh. I'm not sure why I did that. Oh, let's deselect that and try that again. I'm going to have that deselected. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to come inside, and I should be able to just move this piece. Yep, move it right out. So you'll see there's an assignment with shapes, and that's what I'm looking for you to do with your shapes, is to move the piece out so you know that they would fit properly. Okay? So this is the beginning piece of using your selection tool. Your assignment for creating shapes is going to be found in the learning system. And so this video should help you do that. Happy creating!